To the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Communications update.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite Jillian Moran, Communications Coordinator, to come up and share some highlights with the school committee and share about some statistics and talk about the digital library and otherwise give you a communications update for this year. So take it away, Jill.
Hello, it's so great to see all of you in person. Glad to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to kick things off with some exciting, happy statistics over the past 2 years since I wasn't able to come last year. So looking at Facebook, that's kind of one of our biggest platforms for our social media, and it has the greatest reach for parents and our community at large. So just some cool stats. Over the past 2 years, we've increased our following by 1,320 new followers. The number of people we've reached is 238.6 thousand people that we've reached through all of our posts. And then our engagement, which includes likes and shares and comments, is at 388.7 thousand over the past 2 years. So I just wanted to say, woohoo! We're doing some great things, and we're able to really reach people with the content that we're sharing, which is really exciting. So looking back at last year, I'm going to be as brief as I can be. A lot of our social media and our outward communication was focused on things that were going on, and obviously we had a ton of online learning. So a lot of what we posted were screenshots, some behind-the-scenes pictures, and then we were really able to lean into live streaming with the help from WMCT and 4 or 5 of our students at Marlborough High School. So we really were able to focus on streaming sports. We didn't have a lot of in-person arts classes, and there were a lot of different electives that didn't run last year. So what could we do? We could lean into live streaming sports for all of our families. So we were able to live stream every fall and winter JV and varsity game last year because that's where the need was, so that's what we leaned into. We also were able to live stream some ceremonies and events and even a dance-off with a student and principal, which is one of my favorite moments from last year. If you haven't seen it, you need to go back and watch it. Dr. Skaza is quite the dancer. And of course, all of our graduation ceremonies. So those were kind of what we focused a lot on in terms of my role here in Marlborough Public Schools. It was really doing the live streaming because that's where the need was. So looking at this year, our needs were different. And one of the things that Marlborough Public Schools is really well known for is our music department. So one thing that we've really leaned into and brought attention to and awareness to are all of the great offerings that we have at Marlborough Public Schools from K to 12 in our music department. So I don't know if you haven't seen the winter concert, this is a really cool stat, 539 views in 2 weeks. And that's really huge for our music department. And there were a number of people that were able to watch it live and in person as well. So we've really worked hard on using our social media to share with our community and beyond our performances. And we've even at sporting events like our football events, we've had our marching band there, and we've been able to share little snippets of our bands, and it's just so encouraging, and it gives you that good feel-good content out there. Also, we had the high schoolers perform for the Good Now students. They walked up to the field, and we live streamed that on Instagram. So we've been using all of our social media to share all of the great things that Marlborough has to offer, specifically related to music. And I'm going to show you a few more stats here. So here are the stats of our most minutes viewed on social media, and the first 3 videos are all music related, which is really cool. This bucket bash, I propose, this is kind of off the cuff, we should have Mr. Verdone come and teach school committee how to bucket bash.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to learn how to play the drums?
Sure, in May.
Sure, in May. All right, in May, Jimmy Verdone, mark your calendar. All right, so those are just some stats. Those are, it's going really well to promote these, and these students deserve to have a spotlight. A few other stats for social media. So I'm going to just be going over our reach on each one of these platforms, and also the value add and why we spend time and money and resources to share to these different social media platforms. YouTube is a great for everyone. If you're not on social media, you still want to see some video content of what's going on in Marlborough, YouTube is great for that. It reaches students, families, our community, staff, also resources for others. Marlborough's done, I'll share a little bit later on some of our labs we did last year and how those labs are being used by schools across the country and beyond. So we're able to kind of really reach far. Also, live events, YouTube is just the perfect platform for that. We can control, I disable the chat on live streams because that's smart to do for school events. Also, accessibility, we're able to add closed captioning, not only in English, but in Spanish and in Portuguese and other languages if we needed to. And YouTube is controllable. Even, I'm not sure if you've all seen it or not, but the microaggressions video, that was something that we were able to share with our entire district faculty, but not beyond that because we can set videos to be private or unlisted. So YouTube is great for that. Facebook, I would say most of us use that as parents, and this older generation that I am now part of, go that. So parents, staff, the community at large, also our city departments do a great job on Facebook. So Facebook is really still valuable for us to be posting there. We get a lot of tags from corporate connections or different events that are happening that the school's involved with. And sometimes we would miss those things had these other corporations not tagged us. So it's really cool that, we're able to share from there. Instagram is more for, yes, staff and our community, but our students are using Instagram, especially stories. And I'm going to show you a glimpse of that. Twitter, we're still keeping going. Our following is not entirely huge, but it's great because we're able to see a lot of our principals highlight our students' work there. And they do such a good job of posting that, especially JARC School. Shout out to JARC. And Principal Noack, she does a great job of really highlighting students that are just day-to-day doing great things. And that's just so awesome to share. We also have a lot of teachers that have huge followings. So the fact that they're tied with us, we can just really praise them. And our athletic department really uses Twitter. And finally, TikTok. All right, don't be too scared. But TikTok, guys, it's a big deal and we need to start leaning into it more. So we've been getting our feet wet a little bit. Students are there. Staff use TikTok a lot. It's great for feel-good posts, but it's also got huge potential for tutorials. So it's not just entertainment, but over the next few years, I'm curious about how we can really use that to teach people and to show, hey, you know what? You might have done this, but have you tried this? Or here's how you can use your smartboard. So I feel like we're going to have great opportunities. Also, we've only been using TikTok since May of last year, and we've already had 70,000 views. So it's a lot of potential there, and I figured I'd just give you guys a heads up. Here's some other cool stats and some of our top hitting videos and posts over the past, this school year since August is when I put this out. So just, we're reaching a lot of people, and I think our music, our community service posts, recognizing students and teacher accomplishments, as well as our free breakfast and lunch, that was a huge post for us this year. And then our favorite things challenge, which is going to come back after February break. One thing that we've been doing recently is tagging our student organizations. So tagging the class of 22, class of 23 in posts that are relevant for them. So sometimes we will say things in the loudspeaker in the morning, hey, morning announcements, we're going to be doing a food drive. But that communication doesn't always get to everyone. So what's great is that now we're strategically tagging our students in posts, and then they are honestly, especially this food drive post, I reshared it, tagged all classes, and within minutes, all of them had shared it as well. And those posts are now reaching 600, 700 students or people, as opposed to just 100 or 200. So we've been doing that this year and kind of under the radar, and that's been really effective, even especially for scholarships, internships, those communications that we kind of don't know. How do we get students to know there's all this money out there for them? And so this has been a strategy that I think's been working. I also wanted to do a shout out to our food department, who, I don't know if that's how I say it, but they have been incredible. Working with Tim has been really great. He's been sending me these great pictures, and strategically we're like, okay, how can we get more students to get excited about school lunch and participate in our free program? And so especially at the high school, we've really been doing our best to get creative in how we present that. And it's actually been cool. I've seen a lot of on the Marlborough residents pages, they're sharing these posts, hey, look at these great lunches, and people are like, oh, they didn't have that when I was there. So it's been cool to kind of just share good news and recognize all the great work that our school and our district is doing. I have another page here. It will be 100% unreadable to all of you because it's teeny tiny print, but I'm happy to share it with you later. But basically what I'm going to do is tell you this. These are all of the videos that we have on YouTube that have 1,000 or more views. Again, you're not going to be able to read it, but just go with me here. So what I've done is I've gone through and kind of categorized what are the themes of these videos, who are the audience of these videos, and approximately how many views do these types of videos get. So what we don't want to do is waste time making videos that are just like only affect 100 people. We want to be, really do a good service for everybody. So I'm going to go back to this in a second, but let me show you this. Our major themes in the content that we're working so hard to create are these. We're highlighting students' performances, maybe athletics, events like graduation, or students passing the MCAS and all those great things. That would be like feel-good inspirational videos. Also behind the scenes are just videos, hey, this is what Project Adventure looks like at Marlborough High School, and this is a phys ed class you'll take your junior year, and this is why you'll like it, just behind the scenes stuff. And then instructional and tutorial. So again, you can't really read all of this, but what this says, this top category, which is our most viewed videos for the past 2 years, almost entirely are tutorials made by Sabrina Riley, who is a high school teacher at Marlborough High. And she did all these virtual labs. We worked together, and she was doing labs. Hey, this is how photosynthesis works, and she did the lab. These videos are reaching well beyond Marlborough Public Schools, which is awesome because what great PR, what great opportunities for people to say, oh man, I want to work at a school like that. So not only are we reaching our students and our parents and our community, but we're also reaching farther than that. And I think it's really important that Marlborough Public Schools be an exemplar for other districts. So go us. All of this leads me to my final slides, Mr. Mayor. You told me I had 20 minutes and we're coming up on it.
I don't think I did.
No, he said 5, but Superintendent Bergeron said 10, so here we go. Finally, the main goal after sharing all of this and looking at all of these data points and all of these views and feedback and interaction is that what we really want to do is continue to build our MPS digital library. So beyond the feel-good, hey, there's this great thing going on, we want to be strategic about what type of content we're sharing that is going to reach our students, our parents, our community, and beyond. So one way that we've done that, you may have seen this video on Open Sci Ed. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But it's starring Stephanie Gill, who is our science engineering, I'm missing a word, supervisor. And she did a great job of presenting to our PTO. Actually, that was a visit that Mr. Mayor gave to the Whitcomb PTO. And so anyways, watch this video, but this is the type of content that we're going to be really strategically leaning into over the next couple of years. We're wanting to highlight all of our departments, all of our subgroups. I've got a big passion for our English language learners, so we're going to be doing strategic videos for each department, each level. These videos take a lot of time and effort, but they are well worth it. So check out this video, and I'm going to tell you 2 upcoming things. We've got a really cool project coming up with Judge Spring out of the Marlborough Courthouse. So what we're going to be doing before she comes in for a visit in April, while the students at the Whitcomb Middle School are going to be studying civics, we're going to be making 4 videos. So basically we worked with the middle school teachers and Jody Reyes to come up with what can we get for video footage to show these students real life what's happening and not just teach vocabulary. So we're going to kick it off with pre-teaching vocabulary. So we'll actually go into the courtroom and get footage of the list of vocabulary that they are wanting the students to learn. Also, roles in the courtroom. We're going to do mini interviews with all of the different roles that go into a courtroom. The third mini video is going to be a mini documentary on Judge Spring. What led you to this field? What are some difficult moments that you remember? What are some highlights? What would you change? And what education did you need to get here? And then finally, we're going to do a whole documentary on the courtroom. So the teachers are working collaboratively. They're sending me their questions, and then I'm going in to produce these videos for them. So that's what I'll be filming all next week, editing over February break. Very, very exciting. And this type of work is what I think we should be leaning into because we're going to do it once, and that's going to be a resource for the next 10 years. The people may change, the students may change, but that's going to be a really great resource. And another one that we already have filmed, I'm just editing now. is for our music department. This is really exciting. This kind of came out of the goal of being more inclusive and making our all of our programs more accessible. So for students that are new to music, I have an 11-year-old son, and he decided this year he's going to learn the trombone, which is not a quiet instrument to practice in the house, but he's doing a great job. So just if you were to come into Marlborough High tomorrow as a new student and you've never played an instrument, we still want to build a bridge to help you learn how to play an instrument and not just go in and sit in the back of the class and look around and feel awkward. So we've created a series of videos with Jimmy where he goes through, hey, this is the trumpet. Here's how you assemble the trumpet. Here's how you make a sound. And basically students will be able to, Denise is going to be watching all these videos and learning all the instruments. Let's go. So this will be a great resource, especially for English language learners who might have the skills but not have the language. The tutorials that he made, he didn't even know he was really using repetitive, awesome, rich language. So we're going to even take that and make that into English language lessons and music lessons. Okay. Questions? How'd I do?
Questions for the committee?
I just wish Jill was more excited
ahead.
about that.
I know.
I have a comment, not really a question. This is really an interesting and very thorough presentation. I recently took a social media marketing class.
Patty, put your button on.
Oh, it's the same.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I was just saying that it was a very interesting and thorough presentation. I recently took a social media marketing class, so it was very interesting to see everything I learned in real life examples. From a student perspective, this is all very exciting, and I really do agree we should be leaning into this. A lot of the things you said, like with the school lunches and those stories, I see it in the classrooms all the time. We're all so excited to look at the stories and be like, oh, this is what's for lunch, and that is something that I really haven't seen before. Things like the scholarships and reposting what my class's Instagram will post, and then it gets reposted on the MHS social media accounts. I think it's all great. I think it's going to be really useful, not for just for students, but for the community as well. It has been very encouraging and uplifting from the student perspective, so I'm really 100% for this, and I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Ms. Matthews?
Hattie, thank you for that, and Jill, thank you very much for your presentation, and I can't agree more, especially having somebody in college, because that is the only way that they communicate on campuses and with the students, is the social media, that especially Instagram is just, yeah, we all go on Facebook, and they post on Facebook too, but it's in both places. The parents get the information on Facebook, the students all get it on Instagram, and the sharing is just exponential when you start tagging and putting it out there. So thank you for this, and I'm glad to see if you can do tutorials in your 3 minutes on TikTok, I'll watch them.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the committee? Ms. Hennessy?
Yeah, I have to, because this is amazing. And it's been amazing for a while. You've just helped to usher it into larger opportunities in so many ways. The tutorials that you all started to do once, the pandemic hit and we were having to do remote learning or hybrid, whatever, were amazing. I mean, I have to say, I love being able to sit down and actually watch it myself, and I can imagine other parents as well as the students having that opportunity, especially if they couldn't do something hands-on in the classroom. To have that is incredible, an incredible resource. And I have to say, ironically, after you did the winter concert and put that out there, as every good parent, I shared it with my parents so that they could actually watch. And I have to say, they loved what they were seeing, but they loved the depth of what you had actually done. You brought it to life for them, for not being able to sit there within, the audience. They live in Pennsylvania. And so the accolades were there for not only the students, but as well, they were calling out some of the different comments of the teachers, of how the teachers were actually obviously creating wonderful relationships, and it was so evident by the way that they were communicating with their students on stage. So I just thank you for what you've done. I know it's taken a lot of time and effort, in many ways, shapes, and forms. And yes, it's your job, but it's your passion and your approach. And it's kind of like what Denise was saying with Jimmy with the let's go. His enthusiasm is infectious, and I think that that's what you all are bringing, trying to push it into these other realms. TikTok is one of those areas of social media, which is just going to be huge if you can push into that with the tutorials and such. So thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. And shout out to WMCT. I know I mentioned them already, but they've when they're able to support us and come alongside us and work together, it's been hugely helpful. I wouldn't have been able to do the winter concert without their support. So hoping to keep those relationships going and then get more students involved in the future years to come.
Another question from the committee. Ms. Bodenhagen.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill. This has been great. One question is, can we get can you send us the presentation?
Sure. Yep.
That would be great. And, because I want to see the small print.
Yeah.
I don't know if this goes under your purview, but the websites, the individual websites,
That's under the principal's purview.
okay. Is there a way to figure out how they can get updated? Because a lot of them are really not updated.
I'll put that on my list.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you, Jill, very much.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
You don't have to.
I'm going to, yeah, of course. And I want to learn to drum.
Superintendent's
me too.
report. Go on YouTube.
I'm already on there. I'm watching it.
So I'd like to start just by reviewing some of the COVID data for the city and the schools. I had given the committee a report last Thursday on the total positive student cases at MPS. And at that time, on the 3rd, we had 17 cases. As of yesterday, I had 11. So we had gone down slightly from that point.
Today we have 51.
In the entire city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on page 2, there was at that time 84, and as the mayor just said, we have 51. So it has fallen dramatically. I think one of the best charts that I really appreciate the Board of Health putting out every single time is on page 2, where they show a very long history of active cases and new confirmed cases. And it gives, I think, is one of the best graphics that shows where we are in relation to where we've been in the past 2 years. The state is also following a similar trend. There's been a sharp drop-off on almost every category, and that seems to be continuing. And as always, the wastewater data is also looking very good as well. So overall, significant decreases. I know Assistant Superintendent O'Brien's going to report on the test at your home instead of test and stay. So I'll leave that for her so she can report on that. But certainly significant drop-off in cases across the board. For my second item, I wanted to just update the committee on enrollment. This is quite an increase. So from October 1st through February 1st, that was the marker that I used, we are up as a system 270 students, or 5.82%, which is incredible. I tried to go back in time to look to see the last time we had broken 4,900 students, and it was in 2004. And I believe by the end of February, possibly the middle of March, we're going to break our all-time high and be close to 4,950 students, if I look at all the pre-registrations. So I would say that we're doing something right. We have a lot of demand for our product, so that's a good thing. But it is putting some stressors on some of our classrooms. It's putting stressors on some of our programs as well. So as you take the FY23 budget home and you read through it, you'll see that there's some things that we've had to do to try to accommodate for the new students that we're seeing every day. So speaking of which, thank you, Mr. Diaz. Produced a great budget book once again. We just want to encourage, if anyone has any questions over the weekend leading into next week, please feel free to reach out to Doug and I, and we'll do our best to answer and then bring those questions to the presentation and answer them again for everyone. So that way we can do it in a comprehensive manner. So thank you for that. Lastly, on the agenda tonight, I do have a rate increase for substitutes, and I'm asking the committee to approve the substitute rate changes to make us more competitive in the market. I just want to thank Patty Brown for researching and compiling the request, so that way I can present it to the school committee tonight. And that is my report for tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Question from the committee. Ms. Ryan.
I have a couple questions about the enrollment. My first question is, the ninth grade, the high school, does that number typically fluctuate at that level?
Not as much as this is the most I've ever seen. We've always seen some students come back from other private placements and or public schools at the 9th and 10th grade level. That's, I don't want to say common, but I haven't seen 50 students. So what I'll tell you is a small number of those students are returning to us from Assabet or potentially AMSA. The majority of those are new students to Marlborough.
My second question was, it seems kind of like it's kind of all over in terms of the number of students. I guess mostly younger elementary, but then there's also a lot in the middle school. Are they coming from a particular complex or address, or is it kind of just throughout the city? Is it?
I haven't been able to nail it down to a particular area. I would say of all the schools, Goodnow has probably taken the most.
Really?
So there, I believe the last time I talked to Principal Mulcurran, they were around 757 students.
Yikes.
So that's pretty significant.
If you build it, they will
in terms of
come for
enrollment.
sure. Wow, okay, wow. That's, and does history show, when it gets that high, does it kind of stay that high for a while, or is it kind of hard to predict?
This is unlike anything I've seen.
Wow.
I wish I could say. We have not had an enrollment increase like this in some time.
Wow, okay, thank you.
And I know that in discussions a year or so ago, most of the communities were concerned about losing some of their aid because their numbers were decreasing substantially. We haven't seen that, but I think if we can pinpoint where the students are living, I think you're going to find out they're living more in the inner city, in the multifamilies that we're having. All you have to do is follow a bus through one of the local neighborhoods, and I forget which neighborhood I was in this morning. I can't believe it was off of Neal Street, and they basically emptied a bus right there, and it's like, I'm watching these kids come out of this bus, and parents are flying in from, walking here and parking over there, but I think a lot of it's the inner city stuff, because we've checked on the larger complexes. We haven't checked in a while, but last time we checked at Avalon, there's 300 and something units up there, and they had 11 kids out of the entire complex.
Yeah,
It's just unaffordable.
To echo that, we haven't seen big increases at Avalon or Talia or any of those types of complexes. Very few students. And on the east side of the city, in the Kane School, we haven't seen as big of an enrollment increase at Kane, because a lot of that proportion is single-family homes. They will turn over. So there's going to be that point where the value increases so much that those owners are going to have to say, I got to sell. How can I not sell at this rate? They will turn over, and that's why we need to be prepared for more students coming to Kane. We need to be prepared for more students coming into Richer as well, because those are where the building opportunities are.
Any other questions, Ms. Bonahedger?
Do we know, can you give us an idea of what percentage of these are EL kids?
High 80s. So a majority of the students that are coming in are EL 1s and 2s, which are beginners. And I would say of the population that we've seen enroll, a very high percentage, I'd say more than 80%, are EL students.
And just to clarify, these numbers are since October 1st.
Correct. So
So
actually,
these aren't the regular kids coming back to the district or moving here over the summer.
yes, this is just since October 1st. So when we close that data and then we report it to the state, I'm looking at beyond that and seeing what our enrollment looks like beyond that. And then, so what we're looking at, and Doug and I have started to look at some of the numbers, you're not going to see the effect on this on your state aid until next year, because these students came in after the October 1 date, when we solidify our data and send it to the state.
Yep.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you very much.
Oh,
Mr.
I do
Mayor?
have one more. I mean, are you anticipating us having to add classrooms this year?
This year, if I could add a classroom, I probably would at Good Now for one of their grades. I think at this point, upsetting the classroom with the
Right.
teacher might be more harmful than adding one more. But definitely in next year's budget, you're going to see that there's 2 additional, at the elementary, there's 2 additional classrooms for Good Now to address the increase in enrollment we've seen.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Murphy?
Thank you. Title I Family Nights. Marlborough Public Schools is hosting 2 Title I Family Nights focused on social and emotional learning in the home. Both presentations are scheduled from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the Whitcomb Commons at Whitcomb School. On March 9th, the presentation will be in English, and on March 23rd, the same presentation will be offered in Spanish and Portuguese. Translators will also be available at the March 23rd session. During these presentations, we will explore some examples of what SEL looks like for various situations in the home, including effective praise and feedback, the power of our words in shaping behaviors, life coaches versus problem solvers, growth mindset, and helping children create a vision of their future. Parents should have received information already regarding these presentations from the elementary or middle school. Free babysitting will be provided on both nights. I had foreshadowed the Acceleration Academies when we talked about interventions. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education requested proposals from districts to offer accelerated math academies over February and April vacations. Supervisor of Math Heather Russo applied for and was awarded one of these grants. We will use our NWEA MAP scores from the fall of 2021 and January 2022 to determine the areas of greatest needs, in addition to looking at common assessment data and MCAS data from 2021. The NWEA MAP grade level reports show results for 4 goal performances levels in maths, focused on operations and algebraic thinking, the real and complex number systems, geometry, statistics, and probability, which we will use to create targeted instructional focus by grade level groups. After they've identified their focus standards, they will analyze student-level data, including the MAP data, MCAS common assessments, and attendance, to identify students that would benefit the most from this targeted instruction. Those invitations have been going out. The grant allows us to transport students and provide breakfast and lunch for all students. Our program will run Tuesday through Friday, 5 hours a day over the 2 vacation weeks. In addition to the Math Academy, the district will match this program with ELA classes in February and physics biology classes in April to help secondary students prepare for the ELA and physics biology exams this spring. NWEA MAP scores, PASS scores, and content assessments will be used to identify students as well for these 2 programs. Any questions?
Questions from the committee? Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you. I'm really excited about that program, the Accelerated Academics. I think it's a great opportunity to try to reach some students. Couple questions, though. You had pointed out that with some of the student level data that's going to be used for, making judgments on who to reach out to, and you mentioned attendance, and I kind of thought that was kind of interesting, just based upon some of the conversation that we've been having about attendance situations and how we've been encouraging families to not send their children necessarily if they were potentially symptomatic. And so I'm curious about how attendance is coming into play here.
So I think that the only way that that would be for students that have not been reporting at all to school.
Okay.
All right, so often, we looked at the data last year as
Yeah.
well. We know that that was an issue for a small amount of students, but that would be one of the last considerations. Not if COVID or repeated quarantines, that would not be.
Okay. And I love that, like, I'm glad that you're able to couple it with whether it's the ELA or the physics, you can have these additional things to support, but math really is the driving force here at this point, right?
Math is why we got the grant.
Yeah.
And then what the district has done is we've basically said, we're going to take funds and then create other programming to match. So that way it's, DESI's giving us some money to do this. The district is matching that money to create more programming, because it's not just a math issue.
Right.
But certainly math is driving the grant, so.
Right. And I mean, with some of the information you all were able to pull data-wise, where we were seeing some drops in certain areas, we can target into those areas as well, correct? And I'm assuming, though, for February, most of those kids have already been identified.
So the teachers were approached months ago when we first heard about the grant. The Department of Education just notified us of the grant.
Okay.
I think it was less than 2 weeks ago, was the last school committee meeting. So we've been talking it up to the students. They all know that it's coming, but the official paperwork is just in their hands now.
Gotcha.
So February, they all know.
Yeah.
And they have the lists. It's just a matter of finalizing.
No, and thank you for providing that context, because if you've only been alerted
Yeah.
just more recently, there's not a lot of lead time that you all could have done then, and that helps to, the trickle-down effects. I got you. Thank you very much.
Questions? Thank you very much. Ms. O'Brien?
Thank you. Good evening. I wanted to give the school committee some information updated on the COVID at-home testing opt-in. As of last February 3rd, actually, I'll give you, as of tonight, what the current numbers are. There's 467 staff and 1,235 students who've opted into the at-home testing option. The first round of tests were distributed last week on Tuesday and will continue every other week. There were 4 students and 2 staff across the district that were reported as COVID positive on Wednesday following the first night of at-home testing. I also wanted to share information about our Pathways program at ECC. Over the last several years, the number of special education Pathways classrooms, which are our ABA programs, had increased from 2 to 4 classrooms at the Early Childhood Center to meet the needs of increasing referrals from early intervention. For the 2022-2023 school year, 13 of those preschool pathway students will be entering kindergarten. This will significantly reduce the number of pathway students at ECC while increasing the number of pathway students at the K-5 level. Currently, there is 2 pathways classrooms at both Jarwick Elementary and Goodnow Elementary. One of the Pathways special education teachers at ECC will be transferred to Kane Elementary to create an additional Pathways classroom. Pathways students entering kindergarten whose neighborhood schools would be Kane or Richer will attend that new classroom at Kane. The other Pathways students who are entering kindergarten will attend the programs at the neighborhood school at Jarwick or Goodnow. Parents will be informed of their child's program location at IEPT meetings, and ECC will work with them on transitions in the spring. The anticipated student caseloads with this shift would be Kane will have approximately 7 students with 1 teacher, Jarwick will have 13 students with 2 teachers, and Goodnow will have 13 students with 2 teachers. And we do not see a projection coming in from early intervention as far as that. This was a bubble that's moved, and we aren't expecting to have large numbers coming in. So there'll still be 3 Pathways teachers at early childhood. With the exodus that's coming from the kids going to kindergarten, that gives us a good buffer of empty vacant spots in those programs for kids who will be turning 3 and entering the Pathways program for next year. For the FY22 American Rescue Plan Homeless Children and Youth Grant, this was a grant that the district was awarded $28,995 from DESE to be used for McKinney-Vento students and their families. This was on the school committee agenda for approval of accepting the funds at the last school committee meeting. Any unused grant funds can be rolled over into the 2022-23 school year. These funds will be used for medical needs such as dental and optometrist, as well as essentials such as personal care items, clothing, and other identified needs. They'll be made available to the wraparound service coordinators to be able to utilize with the homeless students and their families that they are supporting. This is in addition to $5,200 in the district's Title I grant that is identified for the same purpose. Currently, I know there was a question earlier about the current numbers of McKinney-Vento students that we have in the district. We have had a high of 50 students this year, and currently there's 41 students that are being reported as currently being homeless in Marlborough. And just as a comparison, last year, what we ended with over the course of the last school year, we had a total of 59 students that were reported as homeless at some point during the school year. And that's my report.
Questions from the committee? Go ahead.
Thank you. A couple of questions. Those new arrivals since October 1st, I think it said 24 were at ECC. I mean, do we know if
Oh, I don't know.
either that number of kids coming into ECC or just across the district, are any of the kids substantially special needs kids that are coming
I
in?
should have carved that one out. We've seen that every single year. We always start low, and then in like the 150s or 160s, and then slowly rise up as children are turning 3. So
Yeah.
that's pretty natural for us to see that enrollment increase. I should have carved that out of my report to say that that is something we have seen before. Overall, we've never seen anything like the rest of it. That's certainly
Right.
an increase we haven't seen in a while. But the preschool is pretty natural. We usually start low and then continually add throughout the whole year.
Okay. But are we seeing a higher increase
Not,
in special education students?
No, not more than typical, no.
Okay.
There's a caveat to that too, which is because we've gone tuition-free, there is less likely for early interventions to push for an IEP for a student. They sometimes in the past, and just this is the way it worked, some people would be pushing for an IEP because that would remove the tuition. We no longer have a tuition. So there's less of that kind of elephant in the room about trying to get services to remove the tuition for a child. And that has been a benefit to our system for that.
And if the students need the services, they will be identified.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Regardless.
So it's more that there's been times that EI has come in as an advocate for family, and it would come down to benefit versus need. So, this child would benefit from preschool, but it wasn't required for a disability. So that has definitely been helpful. As far as having, continuing with positive relations with early intervention and not having it be contentious. I mean, if a family wants their child to come to preschool, they can just enroll them.
Right. Okay. Thank you. There was another question I had. The new grant funds for the McKinney-Vento kids, the dental and optometrists, do we have places to send them?
So that is what Kayla and Raphael, our 2 coordinators, are doing right now, is reaching out and coordinating. So potentially, like for the optometrist, we're looking to explore maybe at one of the Walmart eye centers, an optometrist there, to be able to say, will you partner with us, and where we could do a purchase order. If there's a student that needs an eye exam, contacts, or glasses, then they could invoice the district, and we could pay for that through the grant funds. And then similarly, the dental, I think, will be a little bit more challenging versus optometrists, because there's so many eye centers that, like Walmart, where you can, we could probably be more successful.
See, if we had a in-house medical clinic, we could set up.
Anything else you want? They have it in Worcester.
In Framingham.
Great.
Yeah, maybe we'll get there.
Framingham's had it for years. They just increased their capacity. Okay, thank you.
Yep, Ms. Hennessy.
Around the dental, there have been a number of dentists that are in the downtown area that have done a number of like outreach programs, like certain days and things like that, that I know a few of them, so maybe offline I can give you some ideas of some people that
Sure.
you may want to reach out to, because they've already shown a heavy interest of supporting the community in that aspect.
That would be great, thank you. And I think they're also reaching out to their contacts in Framingham. We have a lot of resources with Wayside and some of the, there's one other organization that Kayla's like really been working with in Framingham, so they also might have some connections, particularly if it's someone who's bilingual.
Mhm. Okay.
So, and if we can get two bilingual, like if there's one who's bilingual in Spanish and one in Portuguese, then that'd be good too.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Minutes of the January 25th, 2022 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Oh, we don't have the first yet, right? Minutes. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Public
what?
participation.
Huh?
Any public participation? Public participation. Seeing none. Action items, MSBA statement of interest.
Mr. Mayor, this action item has a lot of language that is prescribed by the MSBA. So if you don't mind, I would like to read it into the record.
Sure.
Right. The background, the statement of interest, or SOI, for the Richer Elementary School would seek funding from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or MSBA, to address overcrowding conditions at the elementary level, as well as capital improvement needs of the Richer School. Status. District administration is working with MSBA to submit all of the required information for the statement of interest, which will include a vote of approval from the school committee as well as the city council for the superintendent to submit the SOI. Recommendation. Resolved. Having convened in an open meeting on February 8th, 2022, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the school committee of the Marlborough Public Schools, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated February 2022 for the Richer Elementary School located at 80 Foley Road, Marlborough, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. The district is submitting the statement of interest under 3 priorities. Priority 2, elimination of severe overcrowding. Priority 4, prevention of severe overcrowding expected to result from increased enrollment. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating, and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in the school facility. The Richer Elementary School SOI would address the overcrowding at the elementary level as well as capital maintenance concerns at that building. The MSBA and the district's study enrollment certification for the Goodnow Brothers project predicted in 2015 that Marlborough would have 2,260 K-5 students by FY26, and the district's actual enrollment K-5 in FY22 is 2,478 students. Priorities 2 and 4 would address this overcrowding in the elementary schools, which has caused non-traditional classroom spaces throughout the district to be used as classrooms. Further, priority 5 would address Richer Elementary's outdated HVAC and plumbing systems, as well as aged building envelope systems, windows and roofs, that require modernization. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the Marlborough Public Schools or the City of Marlborough to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Sorry, that was long, but it's their language mostly.
So the recommendation from myself is that the school committee give us the authority by agreeing to the resolve language for us to submit a statement of interest, and also so that we also can approach the city council as well and ask them for the same. So that way we can put in a statement of interest for the Richer School, which, if you remember the process going in the Wayback Machine, 2014 and 2015, we put in our statement of interest. It takes time. It's like getting in line. That's really the best way to describe it. And the MSBA operates under the emergency room protocol. Whoever has the most need gets the project first. So although we think we have a strong SOI, we think we have a strong reasoning. The last time we had the MSBA at the building, they were very complimentary of our ability to keep it up to date, keep it working in fine condition, and maintain it. So we may not be the priority this year. We may not be the priority next year. But what I'm asking is, can we get in line? So at least we can tell people we want to have a project at some point in the future.
Motion to approve.
Motion made, and I'll make a courtesy second to approve. I won't be voting on the issue until we dig further into it. So. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And again, I'm abstaining from the vote.
Thank you.
MPS substitute pay rates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did attach a proposed new rate for substitute teachers to increase our substitute rates to get more competitive in the market based on the research that we have done. The proposed new rates are on the second sheet, and I'll read them off just for the record. For a substitute teacher, it would be $110 per day. For a substitute teacher with a current valid Massachusetts teaching license, would be $120 a day. A nurse substitute would be $175 a day. A long-term substitute from 30 to 90 days would be $180 a day. And then the same long-term substitute who would go from 91 to 179 days would be $190 a day. Paraeducator behavior tech substitutes would be $85 a day. Cafeteria substitutes would be paid at $17 an hour. And clerk substitutes would be paid between $18 and $20 an hour based on qualifications. The current rates are below for you to see as well.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion?
I just have a question. If we vote on this tonight, when will it become effective?
Tomorrow. Honestly, I think.
I just was looking for that clarification because it doesn't say on here when.
Patty is very much ready to update everything in the system to try to get us to the top of the board in terms of attracting substitutes in Marlborough. So we can turn this around as quickly as possible. I'd love to change the sign on Bolton Street to say 110 instead of 85. So.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Superintendent job description.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The committee asked me during the workshop to work to update the job description for superintendent. And I also had Patty Brown take a look at it and offer some suggestions as well, so that way I could bring it to the school committee tonight for your purview and acceptance. with using this for the job posting that we were hoping to put out tomorrow.
Are we opening up for discussion?
We make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded to approve. Discussion.
As far as wording, number 9, proving competence with turning strategy into.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I just had a minor thing to make sure you double check the numbers, like on the second page,
Right.
like you're deleting 9, so then you have to update your rest of your numbers.
So
Surprised Heidi didn't
renumber
mention
your
that one.
thingies going down.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The only, and this is just a wording thing, and it just sounds funny, salary to be arranged with school committee, is it negotiated?
I think arranged was in the original one.
Very
British.
Happy to change it, take a recommendation to change it.
Negotiated.
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 Ranges.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't even see that. Where is that?
right at the very top.
At the top, under compensation.
I agree with you. I think that sounds a little too
Very British.
It's very British.
Was there any other questions or comments?
Other questions? A couple things. So when we hired you, didn't we say something about being able to qualify for a superintendent within a certain period of time or something? You have down certification as a superintendent/assistant superintendent. We wanted to be a qualified superintendent in a certain time period? Yes, no?
I was already certified at the time when I took the appointment. But if you want to add that language, I guess my recommendation would be, or certifiable within X days.
I don't know.
Or certification eligible.
Now that I think about it, isn't there a qualification from the state?
Yes.
Something of,
That's the first line. So under qualifications, that's number 1.
so that's what, they have this whole thing.
Yeah.
Certified as a superintendent/assistant superintendent.
That's the license.
That's what the
other one.
license is.
Okay.
So if you're looking to also look at non-traditional candidates, it would also be certifiable within X days of employment.
How long is a period reasonable?
You want your superintendent to be certified on the first day of school. Otherwise, we might, just saying, there was a kind of a big story in Boston
Yeah.
about that.
Well, she let it lapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard she's available.
So I would think, it's up to the committee. I don't think this certification is too outrageous to have before you apply.
So why would you put assistant in there?
That's
the
what it
same
is.
license.
That's what the
Yeah, but-
license is. It's
Okay.
it's
It's a joint one.
it's a joint.
And
Yeah.
there's really nothing in here about leadership capabilities, or leadership qualities, or leadership proven track record. There's nothing about leadership in it.
It does on number 10, demonstrated
Well, it says
ability to develop leadership. I
Ability
mean,
to, and others,
well,
you know?
you kind of have to have it to develop it in somebody else.
That might be what you
I'm looking for someone that has a track record of leadership ability. Not someone that can hand someone a book and say, here's the leadership qualities that.
I think that's something you weed out during an interview process.
So most of this would be, wouldn't it?
Oh, probably.
Right.
So-
Those are the things you're going to compare it to.
Yeah, I just think there has to be something about leadership. You're asking for someone that is gonna lead 850 employees and 5,000 students, and represent the community, and you want him or her to have the leadership capabilities to do that.
How,
Well, it does have minimum 5 years of successful educational administrative experience. Are you saying you only want to put in people, have the job description say you already have to be a superintendent?
No,
No.
So isn't that the same here where it says minimum 5 years of successful educational administrative experience? Would that work?
no, I think you have people that could have 5 years' experience in some occupation that have no leadership skills whatsoever.
Well, if,
What's a successful?
you would also have the demonstrated management experience, which is number 4, so with a certain amount of management.
I'm looking for a leader. It's as simple as that.
Do you want to?
So is there proposed language we can
Yeah,
add
that's
to
what I'm
that?
asking, like, how
Right.
do you want to word it for one? And how do you measure that? Like, what?
How do you measure most of these things? They're
In an interview, and in
interview
references.
I don't think we're,
Let's take them all out then.
we're not opposed to putting it in, but how would you word it? What you're,
I don't know, proven leadership background, proven leaders.
Demonstratable,
Well, what about if you added,
Then-
for number 4, instead of it just saying demonstrated management experience, would you like demonstrated leadership and management experience?
Management and leadership experience, that's fine.
Okay, I'm just,
Go with that.
yep, that's a good word, please. Good job. Master wordsmither that you are.
And the last thing, the public facilities director you dropped out, and I know it's a mushy position that we're looking at. How did we have that, how did we leave that? It's an assistant superintendent, assistant DPW commissioner, but they also are reporting to you.
They actually report to Doug.
Okay.
So in the position that's in the school budget,
Yeah.
the custodial supervisor is reporting to Doug.
All right.
And then additionally, the way that I've structured it, Dan or any of those folks from DPW are going to Doug first.
Okay.
Instead of to the superintendent.
Oh, that's good.
I've given him more to do.
you're delegating.
Other questions from the committee? Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And with that, I'm sorry,
No,
Dave,
I
did
just,
cut you
the
off?
mayor went so quick, I didn't have a chance to get my hand here.
Oh,
Just want to make sure that the secretary knew.
gotcha. Thank you.
Agreed.
With that, Mr. Mayor, we would take the job description as approved now by the school committee, and we would post that job in accordance with the discussion that was at the workshop. The only question that came up, I just need some clarification on, is how long you wanted the job to be posted for, which I guess you could take up in the next item. I don't know if you're going to take that up, but we had talked about February 28th. But I wanted to make sure that you were still comfortable with that time period, or whether you wanted us to extend it just slightly.
Yeah, I think we gotta go out to the first week of March. I
Yeah.
mean, where's everyone's thoughts?
I think
So
you're
I'm
right.
looking at the
We've lost a
calendar.
week,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking at the calendar. So if it posts tomorrow, 3 weeks is the 2nd, if you go by weeks. If you go to the Friday, did we say go to a Monday, though, right?
I think she said on Monday
A
that
Monday.
gives people.
So that would be the 7th. March 7th.
Just go with just
So it's
under 4
3.5 weeks.
yeah, and that was
I
what,
agree with that, March 7th.
what
3.
Human
Almost 4
Resources had
weeks, yeah.
suggested was after a weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that is for posting both internally as well as externally.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, just to clarify, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So that's D, though. Okay.
7.
Superintendent search.
9.
So what do you wanna do? Anything else with that? We good?
Well, it's
Posting
just,
it?
we need to make a
Moving along?
motion to post from February 9th to March 7th. So
Motion
it's-
made and seconded, the post from February 9th to March 7th. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
And we're.
Step 1.
I'm sorry, we're all set on are we set on the
I have
search
2 I
committee?
haven't talked to. I had 3, I want to talk to all 3 of them before I decide which one,
Okay,
to make sure they have the time to put into it.
okay. So there were 2 outstanding slots, correct?
Yep.
And he was taking care of one, and I wasn't really clear how we were taking care of the second. Right.
But we could
We never really
announce all
came up
that-
with a plan.
We could announce all of that on the 8th. If it's closing on the 7th, we can announce all of that on the 8th,
Okay.
right? I mean,
That we
At our
can
next
have-
meeting.
And that we can have general discussion.
and then I'll have the minutes too to support it, yes, yes.
So that's for on the next meeting, March,
Yep.
March.
March 8th.
I can add that to the, if you'd like me to add that to the agenda for the 8th.
March 8th. Thank you.
Donations and gifts, O'Connor Portrait Studios, or Portraiture Studio. York School, $1,628.91.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor, opposed, carries. Adopt a Classroom, Jarrick School, Mrs. Adamson, $264.42, and Mrs. Schulman, $614.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor, opposed, carries. Global Montello, Marlborough High School, $785.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor, opposed, carries. Reports of school committees. Any reports? Seeing none. Members forum.
I have reviewed the warrant and will sign it.
Thank you very much for that.
Time.
Anyone else? Ms. Hennessy?
So each of you should have found a copy of a letter at your desk. We were trying to pull together a letter to potentially send to Commissioner Riley relative to the attendance issue towards accountability for districts. And little team effort here of trying to pull together a letter.
Thank you, Kathleen.
It's a team effort, collaboration. But if you all could please take a look at this, because we'd like to get it out as soon as possible. And we were hoping to have all of the school committee, it's coming from all of us, but we need everybody to be on board with it. So I don't expect you're going to approve it this very second, but if you could get back to Mrs. Matthews as secretary and let her know, that probably would be best. Okay?
Did we voted to ask you to write the letter, so I don't think we have to vote on it again. It's just a matter of coming to consensus on the wording.
Right, that's,
So that we can do that. Yep.
exactly.
And you don't think they're gonna do a blanket thing?
Well,
I don't think it's going to be a blanket accountability waiver, but I think there might be sections of accountability that might see a waiver. I haven't seen anything since on this, but I haven't directly asked a question of the commissioner or his team. So I don't know, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Matthews?
So, and that was my question that I put down at the bottom was, are we advocating just for ourselves, which is important for us, but it's also important for many districts? So are we trying to be more inclusive, that it's a problem throughout the Commonwealth? And it only needs to tweak the wording a little bit. But as we are aware, we are not, well, there are other districts who have played with their numbers over the years. So we're asking them we're going to be honest, but we want you to take that piece of accountability out because we are playing by the rules. So again, the pleasure of the committee,
I would probably send it in just on our behalf, because you don't want to speak for someone else, but I guess I'd be surprised if they didn't do something.
well, and Michelle can speak to this more, is that many times districts, once they have submitted on behalf of themselves, have submitted it through MASC, and other districts have voted on it as well.
jumped on the band. Like one district puts it out, and then other ones.
Right.
And then it's not an issue for them at
No,
this
no.
point?
Oh, I'm sure it's an issue for everybody.
No, MASC.
I was at a board retreat last weekend, and this topic didn't come up, but it was not really.
No, but this is some of the resolutions that come about. This is an example of how a resolution would be spearheaded if this continued on, asking,
Right.
Commonwealth to address the issue of attendance based on safety.
Resolution will be too late, right?
Because
Well,
it won't
in
be
this case,
until.
yes, right, in this case, but that's why others might be willing to ask for it as well.
Mr.
to help them.
Superintendent,
Before the committee sends the letter, I'd be happy to also make a phone call on behalf, and if I find out that there is going to be movement on this issue, it might save the letter, if that makes sense. I haven't heard anything recently. It has been a little quiet. But I expect we're going to get more information from the state in the next couple of weeks on a whole host of issues. So I'm hoping this will be one of them.
if you could
It
do
doesn't
some
hurt to
inquiring,
send it. I mean, sorry.
I think if we get on both avenues, that's fine.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, agree. Okay, do you want to set a date by which we will all, speak your piece by Friday or by a certain date, so that we don't forget about it?
I'm good.
By next Tuesday, I mean,
Why don't we do it by Friday?
By Friday? Is that fine? The
We can
11th?
make revisions and get it out by Monday.
that's fine.
I mean, it shouldn't be that, it's not that complicated to have to review it. I don't know.
Good. Other members? Any other members? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.